Hey, Pink Group, you are in this group because you are overall doing very well on this type of paragraph. And now I want to push you to earn an even higher score. So if you're in this group, you would have scored about a 5, a 6, or a 7. And I want to make sure that as you are continuing to think about the summative, you're pushing yourself a little bit further. So, as you're thinking about the summative, you want to make sure that you are developing your paragraph with multiple sentences, and in those sentences, that you're not just talking about the story, but using exact quotes from the story. So many of you used quotes, but some of you may not have labeled them or included them correctly. So I'm going to go over that in a minute. Make sure that you have a topic sentence. None of you were using the paragraph frame, so that's great. You're going beyond and you're using your own words. Keep doing that. But make sure that when you're writing about a new story, you still include answering the inquiry question, include the title of the story, the author, and then who the focus character is. Then make sure you're using a transition. Some of you are using transitions like first or second. If you're doing that already, work for more subtle transitions so that you're not using just the number words. And then give an example from the story. In that case, most of the time you're talking about setting up the story and then talking about a choice the character makes. Explain that example in the next sentence or two and use a direct quote from the story. It does not have to be something that's already in quotation marks in the story. It can be a line that the author says, but you're putting it in quotation marks. And then after that, you're putting the author's last name and the page number. Then transition and do that again. Now, to get up to that 7 or even 8 level, think about using a different character or even a different story. So to get to that 8 level, you might, instead of talking about a story up here, you could talk about several stories and then use a different story down here. All right, so think about how that might change it and broaden it. That's what we want for that 7, 8 level, is to think about, okay, I can apply it to what's in class, but what's outside of class. So think about how that might look. Another way to push yourself, if you already think you're kind of in that 7 range, think about the concluding sentence as not just restating the topic sentence, but also saying, so what? Why does it matter? Why is that a big deal? How could you possibly apply this somewhere else? So that could be another way for you to go above and beyond. So for those of you who are using quotes, but maybe not putting them in quotation marks, this is how you want to do it. So down here, look at our sentence where we're using a quote. Ernie responds by saying, comma, quotation marks before and after the line. Again, it doesn't have to be something Ernie says. It doesn't have to already be in quotation marks. In this case, it is. Then we have parenthesis, Soto, because that's the last name of the author, 12, that's the page number, and parenthesis, period. So that's the way that we should see those quotes. Now, the second time I use a quote, I don't need to use the author's last name again, unless it's a different book, a different story, a different author. Then I would put a different author's last name. If this is from the same story, I'll just put the page number. So no P, no PG, no hitting return. All of this should be together in one paragraph. All right, help each other out. You can use this information in a couple of different ways. If you want to, you can rewrite your formative, and I'll give you some feedback on that before tomorrow. Or you can just think about how you are going to be doing this type of work for your summative and make sure you know the story really well. Maybe annotate the story for places where there are choices and resilience. So don't start writing a paragraph, but you can read through that story a second or even third time to look at places where the character is making choices and or showing resilience. All right.